Good morning, Mr. O'Connor. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning. Thank you.
Well, I wanted to start by asking you about a recent controversy involving firefighters and the chief of the fire department, Joanne Hayes-White. Can you describe a little bit what that tension is?
Sure. Right now, the San Francisco Fire Department is going through what we call the crisis of confidence, and that is the membership is very concerned that we're unable to deliver the service that we're used to delivering. So traditionally, we'll get an ambulance to someone's side in under 10 minutes, and a paramedic or a paramedic firefighter there within 4.5 or 5 minutes. And right now, we're getting the paramedic and the paramedic firefighter there under 5 minutes, but our ambulances are taking excruciatingly long to get to the patient's side, sometimes 20, 25, 30, 40. We've had episodes where it's taken 2 hours to get an ambulance to a patient's side. And it's something as a firefighter that we can't stand by and be silent about, because pre-hospital care is very important. And to not be able to bring a person to the hospital in a timely manner is a health hazard, and it's something we're very concerned about.
And so a number of firefighters, including some in the firefighter leadership, have written an open letter asking for the resignation of Chief Hayes-White.
Correct.
How did it come to this?
It's been years in the making, and it's the opinion of myself and all of the employee groups of the fire department that the chief has unfortunately become sort of tone deaf to our concerns and cares. And right now we're saying there's a crisis in pre-hospital care, and she's calling it a strain. If your mother is laying on the floor for 40 minutes, that's not a strain, that's a crisis. It's almost as if the chief has lost touch with what's happening out on the street, with the actual delivery of care to San Franciscans. So for years we've been yelling and screaming that there's a problem, there's a problem, there's a problem, and finally we just felt the need to, after the Labor Day weekend when we had someone waiting 2 hours for an ambulance in the Mission. 2 hours. You could literally crawl to SF General quicker than wait for that ambulance. We felt compelled that we had to just alert the mayor that there was a problem going on in the fire department and we needed his help.
Now, when this all came out and this sort of public demand was made, Willie Brown, a former mayor, made a suggestion that in order to increase ambulance response times, there needed to be sort of a blue ribbon panel that would look at this issue and come up with solutions. And he suggested that you be in charge of that panel. What do you think about that? I
believe he called me a czar, which was a new one, since I'll collect every title I can. I'm on the EMS work group right now with City Hall, and it's still, we're stuck in this sort of rigid and dogmatic approach where they don't want to acknowledge that you need to hire more people. And if you don't hire more people, then at least give it to the private ambulance companies to handle. Somebody has to pick up people to take them to the hospital, whether they're public sector employees or private sector employees, but somebody has to be there. And yes, we can find efficiencies. We can put a paramedic into the homeless shelters where our frequent flyers are. Not to be derogatory, but we get a lot of calls.
Sure.
We can also find quicker and faster ways to stock ambulances and post them better. But ultimately, you need more people. The city is growing. 911 is growing. You need more people to answer those calls. Now,
recently, the mayor has come out and said that because of efforts in response to this public outcry, that the ambulance response times are, in fact, shorter. Is that enough? Is fixing the ambulance problem, to the extent that it is,
Sure.
and you can address that,
Sure.
Is that enough to get you to re-embrace the chief?
I think all of the activity that we've seen in the last few weeks supports our letter entirely, because there's this flurry of attention and care and concern for the issues that we've been bringing up for years. So suddenly we're trying to fix the EMS problem. Suddenly we're paying attention to ambulances that have 200,000 miles on them and $200,000 in maintenance. Suddenly we visited Treasure Island to find out and say, you know what, it's not right to have firefighters living in a classroom because their firehouse has been condemned. These are all issues that have been there forever. So if we fix these problems now, our feeling is that history may repeat itself and everything will be ignored again. Every problem that I've mentioned, every crisis, they've been completely foreseen. If you have a growing city and a declining number of paramedics, your response times are going to grow. If you don't take care of a firehouse for a decade, as black mold creeps throughout it, you're going to have to condemn it. I mean, I could go on and on with a list of problems, but none of these crises, they were all foreseen by everybody.
So it's your opinion that even if you fix these, then there'll just be more with a fire chief that, in your estimation, is not in touch?
And Joanne is a friend of mine. She's a wonderful person. I don't like to say anything negative about her, but it's just maybe 10 years is too long. Maybe you're too far removed from the frontline delivery of services. I mean, she's served the city very well for a very long time, but perhaps it's time for the next generation of firefighter to lead the department forward.
Well, you know, I want to give you a chance to address this because I've heard grumblings that perhaps if Joanne Hayes-White were a male police chief, that 10 years worth of service would be seen as tenure and experience, and there's a gendered element to the desire to have Joanne Hayes-White resign and the sense that she's been there too long. How do you respond to that?
Nothing could be further from the truth. We've supported Joanne for years. We embraced her when she first became chief. We were proud that the first female chief of a major urban city in America. I mean, it's a legacy that'll be there forever, and it's nothing sexist or misogynistic about it. And the sad part is that even our United Fire Service women, our women's firefighting group, they voted nearly 80% to ask Joanne to step down. So it isn't some sort of gender battle that we're engaged in. It's just a matter of public policy and leadership.
Well, excellent. Well, thanks again so much for being here with me.
Thank you.
For Bay Sunday, I'm Melissa Griffin Caen.